Day, y'all. We're over here at Commissioner's Court. Finna go see the hearing. They put you over here?
Hey, what's up, man?
All right, chilling.
There you go. You're welcome. How you doing today?
Good. Yeah, I'm gonna see who's gonna
There are a
come.
lot of people today.
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna talk about that gerrymandering thing.
Oh, really?
They're trying to redistrict everything to take votes away from certain people. They want to make it smaller, so they don't have like they don't like Alicia Simmons, that she's standing up for us. They want her to go with what they're saying, and she doesn't want to do it. So they're trying to,
She out there?
yeah, they're trying to cut her district smaller. Yeah, they're trying to cheat. How y'all doing, people?
Fifth floor.
Come on in. Right over here, sir. I'll get you on the way.
Sir.
All right. You can turn and fix me real quick. You'll make me work. Yes, sir. One of my favorite clericals. You good to go over here, sir? I'm gonna let you have your belt back. Hold on, bro. Just set all this stuff back down. Just set all this stuff back down.
I am. Right there.
When I say set it down, I mean set it down. Thank you, sir. Just leave it right there. There you go. Just leave it right there. Just leave it. Thank you.
I want them to see who you are. Just want my people to see who you are. Yeah. Y'all like lying on people. That's why I'm filming y'all now.
You know what? The only time I've ever seen you, you cussed at me, so.
Well, it doesn't differentiate y'all.
No,
You know what I'm saying? Y'all all a group.
I was standing there.
Just like y'all group everyone else, right? Like everyone's this, everyone. That's why they don't want to give me the evidence y'all used that in my court. Yeah, I know.
That's not up to me, bud.
Yeah, I know.
Not up to me.
I know. I know. Y'all are the ones that lie. Y'all are the only ones that come with weapons. Y'all do. No one else. No one's came to this place with weapons since y'all arrested me the first time.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. Nice.
They didn't ask you any questions.
Oh, that's
The
good.
Lord bless them today.
That's good. Let's see if you got some signal.
I'm in the media section, sir.
Good. Come on.
Thank you. Excuse me. Excuse me. How you doing?
So this is a state court, state appellate court. This is not a county court. My understanding, the way this is set up today, is assuming it did cost $8.25 million. That is coming from Tarrant County for a state court section, if you will. And there is no plan in place to collect rent from the state of any kind. And there is no plan in place to be reimbursed for this. Am I incorrect in anything I just said?
No, I'm aware of it. I have to dig it out. I'm correct.
So why would we do this? And you don't have to advocate for it or against it. I'm just, why would we do this? Because 10 years ago, somebody said we were gonna do this?
I would say that this has been a long-term plan that previous boards have passed. So that's something to kind of move forward with those plans as such. So that's on the agenda for today, to hold this, so we can do a little bit more research on how we got here and the reasons for members. We can certainly do that. That's something that
Yeah, I'll just say that, obviously, for those that pay attention to the I support our state leadership. The counties do get a lot of funding mandates, which the state has the power and authority to give. I'm just not really sure why we would just give away $8.25 million and all of the electricity and all the maintenance and all the upkeep and all of everything else that will come with it, having no earthly idea if we're ever going to recoup this, and not to open up an old wound, but I did say, minute then, mean it now, when we did not fund a state representative and all the remodeling going into a sub courthouse. To my knowledge, every single member of that court of appeals their fund. And I don't think this is a good use of our money. Now, if the state plans to reimburse us, if the state plans to pay rent, that's a different story, but this is basically just a gift to the state, is how I see this. So until I get more assurances that this is going to come back to us in some way, shape, or form, I'm not.
Very similar position. I couldn't do this yesterday. So, I have a question kind of off. So over at Tim Curry, did the lawyers ever get their legal language?
under design right now.
Say again.
It's under design right now.
Okay.
So this has been working with the defense part, what that would look like. And we anticipate that, we can report within the next 30 to 60 days for the design.
Okay, yeah, all right, so, my sentence is pretty much that,
Yeah, motion is second.
No. So I guess here's what I'll do. I'll make a motion to approve, to grant permission to bid RFPs for items 8A through D. That's my motion. Got a second there. Further comments? I'm open to hearing down the road why this is a good idea, how this will be beneficial. I know that state representatives and senators pay for their offices, and that comes from the state. I can see some similarities to, we have state district courts, we have those. I would also like to know, I should know this as a lawyer, do you know how many total appellate courts we have in the state?
15 now for the court of appeals and then the court of appeals and the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so I'd like to know what's the setup for all of those. Are we gonna be the only one doing this, or is this every single county does it in the state, and this is kind of part of doesn't sound like we have any here, anyone in the state to say, will you help us with this? Will you reimburse us with this? So,
And Mark, as far as you
I'm
know,
open to hearing more.
Mark, as far as you know, there's not a name. Not that I'm aware of.
All right, so we have, I made that motion, somebody said, you said this now. So we have a motion to grant permission on 8A through D. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all right, please cast your vote there. Like I said, that passes unanimously. I think the direction of the court is, I think to the administration, bring us some more information. Let's see where that can go, or what exactly. Look at there. Okay. Oh,
Ready to get?
yeah, we do.
I'll move to approve.
Motion and a second to approve 8F. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Okay, now we go from consent. Before, consideration of the books really done by various organizations in Tarrant County. We have a motion to second on that. Motion to second, any discussion there? Julie Griffin.
Good morning. This agenda item is consideration to donate books previously donated to the jail, and a list was attached. There's a variety of religious materials of diverse faiths. There's Bibles and Qurans and inspirational devotional materials. There's also books donated, called recreational books from half-price books, and then there's just the list that says Fort Worth Public Library, and there's no described selection of books. I asked to speak about this item mostly because I have questions about the larger issue, the issue of books, resources, and the library in the jail. First, I know that it's not unique to jails to deaccession books and replace them with digital materials. Libraries are doing that everywhere. My concern is if the books in the jail disappear and only tablets are available, and if there is no library assistance in gaining desired materials, is there? How will the incarcerated population be adequately served? Is Libby, i.e. the online access to the Fort Worth Public Library, available on these tablets? And I have heard that there are not one-to-one tablets provided related to the whole jail population. There aren't enough to go around. This concerns me in the medical needs area as well. If a tablet is broken or a workable tablet is being used by someone else, how can the resources need be met without that tablet? Perhaps these books could fill that gap. When I visited the jail in 2023, there was in existence a physical library. Is that itself a resource available to prisoners? Without that resource, how can a prisoner have access to law books, to case law, to manuals, or other materials on areas of potential employment, or especially to a knowledgeable person for help with finding the desired resource, whether using an online medium or hardcovers? These are just questions I am raising. Thank you.
We have a motion, second on this item, any discussion? Please cast your votes. Motion passes 4-1. All right, next we have appointments to various boards and commissions. We have the board of commission appointments.
Yes. I would like to appoint Elizabeth Harrison, Linda Hamilton, Leon Pope, Human Services.
second on that. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passage unanimously. Next up is the redistricting briefing. We have quite a few speakers, so the request probably at this meeting, we're going to take a break until, we're going to recess until 11:10. It's now 11:02, so we are in recess until 11:10.
Excuse me. Skip. Good.
What's up, bro?
What?
How you doing?
Bro.
See you, my man. See you. Good. I'm watching. I've been coming up I'll let you know. I messaged you on Facebook yesterday, but I forgot about this. I forgot it yesterday. Yeah, but I wanted to take up to catch up with stuff. I've been at the park for the past couple of years. Lost.
Gone. You're gonna be
Hey, let's get a picture here. Good, all right?
Yeah, I'm not leaving until it's over. Excuse me, sir. Okay, look, y'all. Got the city, baby. Let me get a good picture. Someone take a screenshot of this for me. Send it to me. Yeah, okay, let me say what's up to everybody. Dirty D, what's up? Black Indian, ¿cómo estás? Ellie Bell, awesome, anything, what's up, baby? Claudette, Captain Happy, Claudette, yeah, that's where I got arrested at Dirty D. David, good morning. Great dude, fuck the cops though. He Rose. Blue Hornet. Yeah, they were commenting about the gerrymandering.
That's what well, I thought that might be really Just a beat it next to the last one. It's got lights all around it. Look at that one stairs. I'm not stairs. You walk there, oh, they got drinks, everything, set, and no one's hurt, you know, you get your tags out, you got that. Like the only one else is this one, you got the sex machines. You get tags upstairs. I'm staying up, I'm staying up. Down and up those steps. We are up, I mean, nobody let me play up there. All that setup we got, just I try to find anything good in anybody that's doing stuff. I do have some of the things like this. I do have all over the the gin at home, I thought, well, you can't know what you're doing with the city council anyway, because they don't read it. You have to
Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me.
We're back from recess, and I don't know if there's a presentation or something, there's no comments, but for those of you who can hear me, in the fifth floor, but not in the courtroom, and the second floor, you are hearing me probably 30 seconds after I actually said what I say. So I'm going to speak the name loudly and try to get up here. I will call 2 names at a time. We will have only, for all public comments of any kind, 1 person at the microphone at a time, 1 behind. We'll have you going through. For this one, it's 1 minute. And I will just remind you of what I said earlier. Keep it civil, keep it respectful. And if I deem a need to do something, stop talking. When I start talking, I do not want to talk over you. It's not going to be a this, that. Let me get out what I'm trying to say. And it'll be a much smoother, easier process if we're not trying to talk over each other. So with that, is there something you're doing?
I have a comment. Okay. So I expected our paid vendor to be here to do a presentation, give us an update on progress thus far in the redistricting process, and provide his feedback from the hearing. They have stated that the map drawer is unavailable. I continue to ask to speak with, have the map drawer appear at the precinct 2 of the hearing. This person is the wizard of Oz.
It's not going to be commentary like this, okay? It's not.
However, after reading Commissioner Ramirez's op-ed in Star Telegram, I can't tell, but it seems he may have communicated with Adam Kincaid, the creator of MAP. I'm not sure, but I certainly haven't. And my constituents throughout the county, not just precinct 2. And so their absence and silence in person and writing, with that as criteria used to draw the map. Those things have not been made public or shared with the commissioner myself. What was the criteria? We have had 3 public hearings, a court reading, and we are here today. No health representative, no answers to direct questions, no briefing. So this process is not transparent. It lacks relevant data to understand the racial packing and cracking presented, or lacks that data from our vendor. And even though your stated intent is not to discriminate, the impact of these maps is discriminatory. I don't care what your intent is. And any information shared between the judge, Commissioners Kraus, and Ramirez, but not with Commissioner Simmons and Miles, is also discriminatory. So since Bill is not here, I'm doing a presentation. And I have a PowerPoint, and I've asked a Redistricting on my staff to go through the maps to brief Tarrant County constituents. And so Gabe, if you will come on up, and for the record, myself, Commissioner Miles, and I have not changed our preference for the current map, which was approved by a conservative commissioners court in 2021 and elected each of us favorite to sit at the state. So, Gabe, if you will take away and I'll probably jump in, but
Well, good morning, Judge, Commissioners. My name is Gabriel Rivas. I'm the Director of Community Outreach for Commissioner Simmons. In addition to that, I'm also a specialist in maps and redistricting, serving on the task forces with the City of Arlington and with the community participating in the redistricting process. My purpose here today is just to provide an overview of the county redistricting process and evaluation of the proposed maps for the Twin Peaks redistricting effort here in county. In the absence of the public interest in the foundation scrutiny, it's crucial that this county and the members of this court, as stewards of fair representation, meticulously examine these proposals for any signs of racial gerrymandering or otherwise. We can go to slide two.
Next slide, please.
So I want to talk a little about redistricting and the process. In redistricting, there are three basic principles we can look at with a little extra bonus one there at the bottom. The first one is the principle of one person, one vote, or equal representation. So the goal is for the commissioners' precincts to be as equal in population as possible. I've expressed interest for a lot of them to support. That's why we look at redistricting every 10 years after the city census. There's no better data than a full census. Of course, there's census estimates and updates, but that is not true to a census. When census data comes out, we find the precincts are equal or how far off they are. And the state legislature does this as well for both state, senate, state, House of Representatives, as well as congressional redistricting. And for congressional redistricting, actually, there's much stricter equal population requirement than there is, for instance, state legislative commissioners precincts. So the second thing that we need to comply with is the Voting Rights Act, particularly Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And while there's lots of intricacies on how that's interpreted, and what that means, basically what it comes down to is you cannot discriminate against racial or language minority groups. And here in Tarrant County, of course, the largest language minority group is Spanish speakers. So when doing redistricting, we have to look at racial ethnic groups and need a plan that does not discriminate against either of those. The third thing we show up there is Shaw versus Reno, which is limits on race. And this landmark 1993 case, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that congressional districts, particularly drawn with bizarre shapes, so irregular that they can only be understood as an effort to segregate voters by race, are subject to strict scrutiny under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. This case originated in North Carolina, where a redistricting plan after the 1990 census created a majority minority district that was extremely long and oddly shaped, wound around through the area. A group of white voters challenged this district, arguing it was unconstitutionally racially gerrymandered. The Supreme Court, in a 5-4 decision, did not rule the district unconstitutional directly, but rather remanded the case back to a lower court, instructing it to apply this strict scrutiny. This means that for such a district to be constitutional, the redistricting authority would have to demonstrate a compelling government interest. And that's the key term used there for drawing the district in that manner, and show that the plan was narrowly tailored to achieve that interest and was the least restrictive means available. The ongoing impact of Reno versus Shaw was that it made it challenging for states to create more racially motivated electoral districts, even if the intent was to increase minority representation. It established that while race can be a factor in redistricting, to comply with the Voting Rights Act, it cannot be the predominant factor to the exclusion of traditional redistricting principles like compactness, contiguity. This decision has had a significant and ongoing influence on redistricting practices in the United States. So while we comply with the Voting Rights Act, we have to look at race to make sure we're not discriminating. That's one of the things we must look at and pay close attention to. The fourth, the bonus diagnostic tool we're showing there is the Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. This was a crucial provision that required certain states and localities with history of racial discrimination in voting to obtain pre-clearance. That's the term most people are familiar with, which is Section 5. That's either through the Department of Justice or through a federal court in Washington, D.C. before making any changes to their election laws, procedures, or district lines. The purpose of pre-clearance was to prevent these jurisdictions from implementing new voting practices that discriminate against minority voters, either through intent or effect. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the intent, but if it is in effect discriminatory, then it doesn't pass pre-clearance or different. They place the burden on the covered jurisdictions to prove with the proposed changes to Title 9 or for its right to vote on account of race or color. This section is widely considered the most effective tool in the Voting Rights Act for combating discriminatory voting practices. However, in 2013, the Supreme Court's decision, Shelby v. Holder, did remove the formula used to determine which jurisdictions were covered under Section 5. So effectively beginning Section 5. This standard, the Justice Department would look at and determine Section 5 is different than Section 2. We talked about earlier, the discrimination. Section 2 is about discrimination, where Section 5 is about retrogression. So retrogression means basically you can't go backwards as far as protecting minority groups from where they were before. So it's a little different than outright discrimination. It's still widely considered important when you're looking at plans to look at that, because if you do regress, if you do go backwards in minority representation, it opens up the allegation that it's purposeful discrimination. And Section 2 does prohibit the effect or purpose of discrimination. So we always want to look at retrogression to make sure that's not happening. We'll go to the next. So just first item I always look at is that one person, one vote. We need to have approximately equal representation, and the rule of thumb there is the total deviation between the largest and smallest district cannot exceed 10%. So you compare the most populous and least populous district to the ideal district size, basically take the total population county divided by 4 in this case. So I have an example of how you can do that, just kind of break the map down so everyone understands. Next slide, please. Next slide. Well, the example where we're going to use is the, assuming a county has a population of 400,000, just to make the math easier. As if there's 40,000 voting age population residents, each commissioner's precinct would have an ideal size of 10,000 people. And so that first one you see there, it has 11,000 people, that would be 1,000 over the, that's about 10, that's 10% deviation. The next two are a little over, not that much. We got 750 over the next one, 250 over the next one. Again, these are examples, not practical. And then our fourth one here is 2,000 under, so that's 20%. So the math you need to do to find what total deviation is the largest one, distance to the smallest one. So take 10% over, 20% under, that's a 30% total deviation. So that would definitely be over the 10% rule of thumb. Go to the next slide. Now, with Tarrant County in 2021, this county took the existing districts and saw that looking at the 2020 census numbers, the county was in balance. Obviously, the county grew tremendously over those last 10 years in the 2010s, but the growth when you look at commissioners' precincts, which are over 500,000 people in each one, stayed balanced. It was a surprise to everyone involved, but the total deviation was under 2% when these maps were reapproved in 2021, just three and a half years ago. That's actually even less deviation when the maps were originally passed in 2011. It actually became more balanced over the 2010s. Now, these were the numbers provided by the U.S. Census and were analyzed in 2021. They were double and triple checked by the senior GIS person at the law firm we contracted with at the time, Bickerstaff. They took every election precinct manually and put them in rather than taking the existing map and just overlaying lines. They manually moved everyone in and used a separate software program from the first run and came up with the same numbers because it was, people did really balance after so much population growth, but they really were. The county commission lines were, like I said, they were even more balanced in 2021 than they were in 2011. So what that means is, as far as one person, one vote is concerned, redistricting was not needed. Bickerstaff's legal opinion was there was no legal reason to do redistricting, and Bickerstaff in the court at the time decided there was no cause to redistrict in that decade, or in this decade that we're currently in. The census is the most valid and accepted standard. Sometimes cases are taken to court challenging the census numbers, and the courts are always very reluctant to vary what the census reports. The census is considered very accurate, more so than any other estimates or updates. The Voting Rights Act, specifically Section 2, says you can't discriminate based on language ethnic minority status. Basically, what that means is there are other things, but the primary thing you have to avoid is cracking compacting. Cracking is where you take a geographically compact minority group, which by itself will constitute the core of the district. It's split into 2 or 3. So you move those people into other districts, they can't elect their candidate of choice. That's something that would definitely be prohibited. Now, the other thing is packing, which is the opposite in effect in practice. You have a minority area, you just pump everyone you can, every minority person you can into that district, so that it's not a district that's say 50 or 55% where a minority group would have a say in it, but up it to 90%. So that if you split one group of a minority group would otherwise have a say in 2 precincts, now only has a say in 1. But by, now, we can go to the next slide and get to the maps. In our current map, minority populations are largely centered in precincts 1 and 2. This is currently demonstrating any packing and cracking as part of the current maps. But as with all proposed maps, proposed map 1 we have on the board here with the current map on one side of it and racial shading showing all minority populations, all the maps that are on the far right in green. The darker green it is, the higher the non-Anglo minority population is in those voting precincts. But as with map 1, all maps show precinct 1 exhibiting a significant departure from compactness, where there's long, narrow appendages extending into predominantly minority neighborhoods from one side of the county to the other. The boundaries of precinct 1 do create some snake-like shapes that show a non-compact district. A Bowlesby-Popper score analysis on these precincts do show that it's greatly reduced, indicating a less compact, more irregular precinct. The percentage of minority voters in precinct 2 has been significantly reduced by taking out that eastern side of precinct 2, diluting their voting strength. The packing minority voters in precinct 1 and cracking minority voters across precinct 2 suggests a deliberate effort to minimize their electoral influence. This packing in precinct 1 appears to be a pretext for segregating minority voters rather than ensuring fair representation. Some analysis of voter data is available on the county website reveals a significant decrease in minority voter participation in districts where their voting strength has been diluted. The proposed maps deviate significantly from established redistricting principles such as compactness, contiguity, and respect for communities' interests. Mr. Simmons, if you want to go through the maps, we have slides for all 5 proposed maps as well as the comparison to the current map.
Yeah, question. This is on that map that you guys put together, is that all one race or is that just anybody who's not white?
That is all, yes, non-Anglo population.
So, I know that, I'll let Commissioner Miles speak for himself, of course, but, he's been told about it. We support the current map. And it's based on what Gabriel explained in our presentation. We have no data. You will hear repeatedly that the county has not reapportioned or redistricted since 2010. The county, as Gabriel explained, conducted a full, comprehensive redistricting process in 2020, really. And so, it was a month-long process. They even had, was it a court meeting in the evening?
Yes, ma'am.
They had multiple town halls. They assisted the public throughout this process. There was engagement. And so that is why I'm good with this map. There's no new census numbers. So you're using the same census numbers from 2020. And I think we can all agree in this room that the population has grown in Tarrant County. You look at traffic patterns, and you look at your route to HEB, your roads are getting more crowded. You can also see that the population is browning. There's more diversity. But we can't go with our guts, okay? We can't go with what we think we see. So that's why we have to have census numbers. So it's just that simple. Why would we conduct mid-decade redistricting without census numbers? And a full process was conducted. The court at the time voted to stick with the current map. So it's a misnomer that the redistricting process did not occur. So, you like current map, I like current map. Don't know if they'll answer my question, but which map, gentlemen, did you all prefer or pick or give input on?
Yeah, so my conversations, like I said, my conversation with Bill, the group that reached out one time and they asked what my preference would be, I gave them my preferences. I don't know if any of the matches that reflect my feedback. I wouldn't ask which one's yours.
Okay,
So at the end of the day, they took what I did and then put all of these together. Obviously, some of them are certainly not workable, in my opinion. Just for various reasons. But that was my feedback to them, and I think they reached out to me and talked to us that way. Y'all called them, that was the session in which I gave my feedback.
I've got questions for Dave.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, is that all right? So you talked about pre-clearance, that slide, you talked about Voting Rights Act, Section 5. Did pre-clearance very hard. Is Texas under pre-clearance?
No, as I said in the presentation,
And how long have they not been under pre-clearance?
I don't think that did.
Okay, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been over. a
It's still
decade.
used as a guideline because it
So I was just curious why even bring that up if it's a moot point and it's not anything that has a bearing on.
Because it's still often used, sorry, but it's still often used as a guideline to appear, to move away from the appearance of racial.
Okay, but really.
That's why it is
has
like
no,
plus.
no bearing on what we're talking about.
It wouldn't
Texas
prove
isn't
un-
under pre-clearance.
It wouldn't prove unconstitutionality or illegality, but it would kind of raise a red flag and retaliation for section 2, with repression.
Okay. And then we talked about Shelby Reno, 1993, Supreme Court heard a lot of redistricting cases since then. So can you give us a synopsis of where we are now, kind of what the prevailing view is now with the courts, especially in the last 5 or 6 years on redistricting, what they're gonna look at, kind of who they're gonna give the benefit of the doubt to. 1993 is a long time ago. In more recent history, where's the court kind of shifted?
There's been some, depends on the jurisdiction, of course, but some,
So it's the Supreme Court, since we don't
Right.
have to worry about jurisdictions, what is the Supreme Court, what did they basically know?
for the most part, they have been upholding the section 2, but it seems like they are, maintaining where it has been as far as the other section 5.
So would it be right for me to say that the courts, Supreme Court especially, has said partisan gerrymandering is fine, it's completely up to
Yes.
that body, if they want to do partisan racial gerrymandering, very bad. But partisan gerrymandering, that's your sole basis for doing it, then we're going to defer to that jurisdiction that's drawing lines, is that fair to say?
Yes, definitely, the courts have kind of recognized that gerrymandering or redistricting, whether it's gerrymandered or not, is a very partisan issue, it's very, politically charged, by whoever party's in control, so that is not legal or unconstitutional, whether it comes down to splitting apart, attacking minority communities where it kind of, whether it's centralized.
That's racial redistricting, agree with that, partisan redistricting, agree with that, benefit without, find that out.
and that's what I continue to have here, it's racial gerrymandering.
Thank you.
You divide it into
I'm gonna answer, would you have that second?
Wow. Thank you, Judge, thank you, colleagues in the court, for the opportunity to share.
Not really, no. But you
Change
can
it.
change it.
Last week, I had the honor of hosting a public hearing in the historic Lake Como neighborhood. It's a place that holds deep meaning, not just for precinct 1, but for the story of Cherry County itself. That evening reminded me why I serve. It reminded me that these suits are not personal art. They are not tools for self-preservation or control.
That's crazy.
Simply they belong to the people. And yet, too often lately, we see elected office being treated not as a platform for public good, but as a means to consolidate power. It reflects, in my opinion, the same troubling dynamic we're seeing in Washington DC, where institutions are being reshaped to serve personal ambition rather than for the common good. I've heard claims that this redistricting effort is about making the community better than stronger communities by cracking them apart, packing their voices into silence. That's not planning, it's harm. And what's even more dangerous is the willingness to recognize how deep, the unwillingness to recognize how deeply this process is hurting the very people we claim to serve. As a man of faith, I don't get to cherry pick which parts of scripture guide my decisions. I serve a God who says, do no harm. That principle isn't abstract, it's a call to action. If the choices we make as leaders cause harm, erases voices, or exploit power, then we must ask ourselves, who are we really serving? What I witnessed in Como last week stood in stark contrast to what's happening in this process. I saw neighbors, fathers, mothers, seniors, educators, veterans, young people stand and speak with courage and clarity. They weren't talking about politics. They were talking about fairness. They were talking about a process that has left their voices. They were talking about a map that threatens to erase their presence in the civic fabric of this county. They were asking questions we should all take seriously. If this process isn't about serving the people, then who is it for? Let me begin by placing on the public record what cannot be allowed to be erased. This court completed a redistricting process in 2021. At that time, a Republican and conservative-led commissioners court reviewed the most recent 2020 census data, received legal advice from our council, and engaged in thoughtful deliberation on how best to meet the needs of our growing and diverse county. With that information before us, the court voted on a 4-to-1 bipartisan vote to adopt the map that remains in place today. That decision was lawful. It was deliberate. And while no process is perfect, it reflected a shared commitment to good governance, transparency, and public trust. But what made that process fundamentally different from today is what's missing now. The voice of the people. We should never sit above the public and decide what's best for them. We should be with them, listening, learning, and inviting their input in every step of the way. A just process doesn't speak at the people. It creates space to act with them. What we are seeing unfold today is not a continuation of that responsible process that was done in 2021. It is a sharp break from the outset. This new redistricting effort has been defined not by community participation, but by speed, secrecy, and the prioritization of political outcomes over public trust. A legal contract with an out-of-state, hyper-partisan organization was signed with no opportunity for public input. 5 proposed maps were developed and released in a narrow window. And while the public has shown up, sometimes in large numbers, to participate in what were called hearings, these have amounted to little more than glorified listening sessions. The lawyers from the Public Interest Legal Foundation have refused to engage in any real dialogue offer meaningful answers, or enter into discussion with the communities most impacted by these changes. That is not public engagement. It is a performative process without the substance of transparency or accountability. From the very beginning, it has been clear what this redistricting process is truly about. We've seen a timeline that moves at breakneck speed, with no meaningful opportunity for public dialogue. Not a single open forum where the people of Tarrant County could engage directly with those drawing the maps. Instead, we've seen a process shielded from scrutiny, driven by consultants from outside our county and advanced without transparency or accountability. Even statements made publicly by members of this court have acknowledged political objectives as guiding priorities. My friends, that is not how you build public trust. That is not how you honor the public. This process has also failed to protect communities with long histories of being pushed to the margins. Of the 5 maps presented, only 2 preserve the historic Como neighborhood within Precinct 1. Como is more than just a place. It is a reflection of Black resilience in the face of exclusion. It is a community that has overcome decades of systematic barriers, including the construction of a literal wall meant to keep its residents isolated. To propose maps that carve Como out of its home precinct, drawn by someone who does not even live in Tarrant County, does not know our history, and has not once appeared before this court to speak with the public, is more than a technical flaw. It is a moral failure. A process that erases lived experience, silences local voices, and ignores public engagement cannot and should not stand as the foundation of representation for the next decade. Representation should not be reduced to partisan arithmetic. It should be grounded in fairness, equity, and a genuine commitment to serve every community, not just those that are politically convenient. The people of Tarrant County deserve a redistricting process that reflects their voices, their needs, and their lived realities. That is not what this process has delivered. I raise these concerns today not simply as protest, but as a matter of record. For history, for accountability, and for the possibility that this court may one day decide to do what this moment demands, and that is to slow down, listen more deeply, and restart this process in a way that lives up to the values we claim to hold. That is the record I intend to stand by, and that is the truth that I will continue to speak. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Anybody have anything else?
I want to touch on political behavior just briefly. I won't be too long. Politically, Tarrant County is competitive with top of the ballot Democrats, recently winning in key races, including Beto O'Rourke in 2018, Joe Biden in 2020, and Colin Allred in 2024. And down ballot Republicans have won countywide races by narrow margins. Judge O'Hare was elected with less than 53% in 2022. The commissioner districts reflect this political behavior. Precincts 3 and 4 are controlled by Anglo voters and are safely Republican, no doubt. And precinct 1 is controlled by minority voters and is safely Democratic. The precinct 2, minority citizens have the strongest political voice and have demonstrated the ability to elect the candidate of our choice. In the commissioner reforming was elected in 2018, help me Devin Allen, who's a Black female. The commissioner before Commissioner Anthony Nguyen, a Republican, Asian mayor. Precinct 2 elects the candidate that they want. So there's no need to change the current map. The district is competitive, giving Republicans a chance if they are willing to appeal to minority votes. And I defeated the Anglo clerk candidate in precinct 2 in 2022. And Judge O'Hare lost in precinct 2 to a black opponent in 2022. Sheriff Wayburn lost in 2020 and again in 2024 to black opponents. DA Sorrells lost to a black opponent in 2022. So while losing in precinct 2 and in precinct 1, all of these Republicans prevailed county-wide on the strength of the vote they received in Anglo-controlled precincts 3 and 4. That tells you the map, the current map works. So the political behavior of the precincts mirrors the county remarkably well. So the real reason, if none of the stated reasons for changing the boundaries hold up to scrutiny, it leaves only one reason, and that's that they can be redrawn. The changes are being made to specifically and deliberately undermine and weaken minority voting strength in our county. The minority population is growing far faster than the white population, and rather than trying to appeal to minority voters and win a sufficient number to get elected in precinct 2, a deliberate attack is being made on minority voters in precinct 2 and precinct 1. Neighborhoods are being ripped from precinct 2 and packed into 1, as well as the economic engines in precinct 1 and 2. These maps take downtown Fort Worth away from precinct 1, takes TCU away from precinct 1, takes the stadiums, Globe Life, AT&T, the Metal Line, it takes those out of precinct 2 and puts them in precinct 3. It's the silencing of minority votes. And those are my comments.
Okay, we'll now go to public comments. Do we have anyone left in any spillover votes?
Second floor is being cleared, I think there's one person.
Is there not a seat in here for someone? If you're in
Where's the CD?
504, or if you're in on the second floor, there's room in here for you. So just one person. All right, you're welcome to come in. Okay, the first person I have signed up to speak is Kim George. Following Ms. George, we have George Janista. Is Kim George present? If I call the name of the person that's in the other room, stop me. Okay, no Kim George. How about George Janista? Next, we have Jessica Grady and Joan Gonzalez. Again, as I call your name, please step up to the podium. If I call you second, please step over there to the center aisle so we can be ready to go.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jessica Grady, and I'm a small business owner, taxpayer, and voter insurance company. I spend a lot of time looking at post maps, and it's very clear to me that what is being shown has been thrown together with no community input. I'm currently in District 1, it would be redistricted to District 2. While I would be honored to have Commissioner Simmons represent me, that is not who was on my ballot. I and my precinct voted for Commissioner Miles. It makes sense to me until the 2030 census comes out to do any drawing on that. If you shove it through now, it is obvious to everyone what you're trying to do. While the county does not offer data on race in your maps, I have seen it over there. Do you want us to believe that you as commissioners are too ignorant of the county to know that you're passionate as many people of color as possible to one district, or are you saying you think the citizens of this county are too dumb to know this? What you are doing is a very definition of racial gerrymandering. You might legally be able to get away with partisan gerrymandering, but not racial gerrymandering. Your maps also violate Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. If you continue to push this through,
Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez, next, following Ms. Gonzalez and Mindy Tackett.
My name is Joan Gonzalez. I've been a taxpayer for 35 years in all of Tarrant County. I serve in the medical community to all of Tarrant County. I don't understand why this keeps being Democrat, Republican. It should be about all of Tarrant County. I am considered probably a brown voter, and I feel like stuff we heard today was way one-sided. It does not serve all of Tarrant County. I also feel that I am a taxpayer, so I work, and I feel like if we really had three voices, all of the people are not being represented that work during the day, that maybe don't agree with all of what you guys are saying. So I respect that you're serving, thank you for serving, but this is not all of Tarrant County. I also like to let the court be known that I got a phone call yesterday, and I don't know if this is standard procedure. Thank you.
Following Ms. Tackett, we have Amy Super.
The public overwhelmingly opposes this redistricting effort. We've seen it in packed meetings, petition signatures, and voices rising across this county. Yet all we've gotten from any of the commissioners who want this is a single hypocritical op-ed. Judge O'Hare, Commissioner Ramirez, and Hill have all failed to show up and answer questions from citizens. No community engagement, zero transparency. We will see what Commissioner Kraus does tomorrow. All you've done is good old boy backroom maneuvering on a process that will racially pack one district and remove voice from minority voters. You're elected to be accountable to all people in this county. Stand with constituents, stand for fairness, transparency, and real democracy. Shut down this redistricting proposal. If not, voters will shut you down the next chance we get.
Following Ms. Super, we have Nydia Cardenas.
Good morning, I'm a constituent of Commissioner Ramirez. I reviewed your op-ed this morning and it appears that maybe you were inside of my head and stole all of my notes for speaking today, so I'm just going to repeat a few of them. You touched on the outcomes of Democrat-led partisan redistricting in Harris County and Dallas County, rising taxes, other crime-related issues, budgeting. I don't want to see Tarrant County turn into Dallas County or Harris County. Don't Dallas County my Harris, or Harris County my Dallas, or my Tarrant County, you'd say. My favorite shared sentiment is something you closed with. In a perfect world, redistricting wouldn't be partisan, but in the real world, it is political and necessary. I ask you to vote in favor of it redistricting. I prefer map number 1, but I'm supportive of at least one of the other maps. Again, please do not Dallas, my Tarrant County.
Thank you. Following Ms. Cardenas, we have Lori Siebel.
My name is Nydia Cardenas, and for context, I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's in business. For both, I was heavily trained on the use of data and critical analysis in decision making. And this process has left me at a total loss. Hill stood here and said these were your maps, that they drew them based on your suggestions. But when you're asked which map you want, you dodge the question. So then at least tell us what criteria you're going to use when it is time to vote. I was at the community meeting, and Hill refused to stand by their work and talk to the community. The person they sent stood outside the room. So how can we even count on them to include our feedback? So who is doing the critical analysis in this decision? This decision will shape our representation for years, and the map drawer and Hill, no one is being held accountable to the public. This is not public service. This is not what public service should look like. If the court believes redistricting is necessary and fair, then explain it, engage us, show your work. Otherwise, stop lying to us and dancing around the truth. This is a power grab.
Following Ms. Siegel, we have Jolene Potenza.
Thank you. I'm Lori Siegel and a resident and taxpayer in Tarrant County. And I want to thank all of you for working on all of our behalves. I do believe in the redistricting. I think it's necessary. I am part of the population that is transplanted. And I believe in the map number 1.
And I really ask that you look at the population coming in. It's not just what happened on the census. My husband is in real estate. We moved here so that he does commercial and residential, and it's blowing up. And we need to look at what's going on. So I ask you, it's necessary to do the redistricting. I am in favor of map one.
Following Ms. Patenza, we have E.J. Perry.
Good afternoon, Judge O'Hare and Commissioners. My name is Joan Potenza. I'm a native Texan, longtime Tarrant County taxpayer. Today I come before you to support map option 1. I detest the thought that drawing a line on a map has anything to do with race. The data sought is on the website. I found it. I clicked on map data, and there it was. It was the last 4 state and federal elections listed by partisanship, which is completely okay. Trying to say that it should be done on race, as you pointed out, is absurd. So let's stop with it's discriminatory things. Let's look at the data. It's good governance. It's not racism. I stand with map option 1, and thank you for all the time that you've given us for community input. We've had 4 meetings so far, 4 public hearings. We have more to go, and the online comment form is still up for anyone to submit comments there. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Following Mr. Carry on, we have Blake Mormon.
My name is E.J. Carrion, and the entire redistricting process has been racist. Imagine Commissioner Simmons or Miles behaving like Judge O'Hare. He rushes through processes, wastes tax dollars, and doesn't attend public redistricting meetings for his own ideas. White men do not have to obey systems like black and brown leaders. Commissioner Ramirez, they're letting you take the brunt of the blowback, placing all the pressure on you to be their holdup to the agenda. No one is talking about Matt Krause, who's trying to indoctrinate our children by putting the 10 Commandments in classrooms. Judge O'Hare is allowing mercy culture to exploit vulnerable sex trafficked victims and turn them into radical evangelicals. All these things are happening right here in Tarrant County, and they get zero blowback for it. But you get all the smoke for missing one public hearing. You, brown boy, are the shield to white Christian nationalism to prosper. Wake up before you have no more face to show.
Following Mr. Mormon, we have Lane Craig.
My name is Blake Mormon, and I'm the first vice president of the Fort Worth Tarrant County NAACP branch. Our members are tax-paying constituents living in every precinct in Tarrant County. I'm here to express our opposition to redistricting and the impact such an action would have on our community. Each of the proposed new maps is flawed, particularly in precincts 1 and 2. There are no criteria given to why the maps were drawn the way they are. Why is that? We can only infer that they were drawn with intent to target the black and brown populations in precinct 1 and 2, and that is against the law. In addition, they were drawn to economically hurt precinct 1, which is morally wrong. Thus, no criteria is given. If this passes, Tarrant County would be known as one of the most racist counties in the country. Whether or not that's the intent of the commissioners who joined the county judge and vote yes on this, that will be the perception. And believe us when we say perception has an economic impact. For more than a century, the black and brown vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. No.
Following
No.
Ms. Craig, we have Adrian Johnson.
I'm a resident of Fort Worth, currently living in precinct 4 and working in precinct 1. As a voter, I oppose this redistricting effort for 3 reasons. First, it is unnecessary and a waste of resources based on the fact that the county underwent a redistricting process in 2021 and has not shared publicly an updated data set. Second, it is illegal based on the violation of the Voting Rights Act. Racial gerrymandering is not only a moral failure, but will also result in costly litigation that will further waste taxpayer money. Finally, as a resident who will likely be moved from precinct 4 to precinct 1 if redistricting continues, I'm very concerned the proposed maps take significant economic entities and maintenance resources out of precinct 1. Living, commuting to work, and having my children go to school in a precinct that seems designed to be under-resourced is unacceptable to me as a voter, parent, and taxpayer.
Following is Adrian Johnson here. Okay, next we have Chad Chelsea Davis. Chelsea Davis here. Next, we have Sammy and Andy Davis. Next, we have the dude from Cheers. Next, we have, I don't believe that one is an actual name.
Put it on the record.
That's why I held off on that. I've seen some movies. Let's see here, let's skip down. David, if you have the most unfortunate name in the history of the world, you can step up now. If not, we'll go Carol Peters. Carol Peters, how about Daniel Martinez Saldivar? Bishop Kirkland. Following Bishop Kirkland, we have Catherine Del Calvo.
You're attempting to set us back over 100 years. This is a facade of force and foolishness. We will never give up Como in Precinct 1. This whole thing is an assault on Commissioner Simmons. You spend thousands of our taxpayer dollars just to unseat her. You don't want her here because she's willing to ask the hard questions. You don't want her here because she's willing to hold Bill Wayburn accountable. You don't want to hear because she talks about chastity bond. Let's look beyond what it is and take the crap off the top. This is aimed at her. Has nothing to do with anything else but getting the Negro off of this diocese so that you could overload it and it'll be 4-1. This is crap and you know what it is and she'll stand up to you. That's what she's really looking about.
Miss Del Calvo. No, Miss Del Calvo, we have Taylor Huntley. Taylor Huntley present. How about Dana Schultz? Reverend John Young. Following Mr. Young, we have Natalie Weimer.
I come before you today as a Christian who believes deeply in the moral value of fairness. Redistricting is not just a legal or procedural issue, it's a moral issue. As Christians, we are called to act justly, truthfully, and resist any action that undermines our witness. The Bible speaks clearly about fairness in all forms of leadership and judgment. Proverbs 11:1 says, "The Lord detests dishonest scales, the accurate weights find favor with them." This verse is about the moral obligation to treat people honestly and without manipulation. When redistricting is used to take power rather than represent people, it becomes a dishonest scale. And Scripture tells us plainly, the Lord detests this. When we redraw district lines to secure an advantage or silence a group, we are not acting in humility, we are grasping for control and power. That kind of decision doesn't just damage democracy, it risks our moral witness. I urge you to reject any redistricting effort. Let's choose a path of integrity. Let's resist the temptation to tilt the scales.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Weimer, present. All right, next we have Valencia Edner and Kevin Lewis LaFave. Mr. LaFave present. All right, next we would have Randy Hutchison.
Commissioners, those of you who support this racist action, what you're doing is nothing short of a modern day Jim Crow tactic. Hateful gerrymandering dressed up in the disguise of democracy. This is not democracy, it's racist. Judge O'Hare, you are engineering a manipulation of districting maps. And as you often say, elections have consequences. Then honor the consequences of your loss in those districts and leave these communities alone. You did not speak for these people, but you are determined to silence them. The Bible writ is clear in its principle. You will reap what you sow. Sow injustice, reaping is coming. You claim to be a person of faith, so I implore you to act like it. Because clinging to perceived power is a pinky in the brain mindset. It isn't just diabolical, it's dangerous. I ask you this, what does it profit you to gain the world
Thank you.
and lose your soul?
Is Mr. LaFave here? All right, Randy Hutchinson. All right, next we have Lynn Bishop. Donna Collins. Are you Ms. Collins?
Thank you.
Are you Ms. Collins?
Yes, I am.
Okay, following Ms. Collins, we have Angela DeSalvo.
Thank you. I live currently in precinct 4, but will potentially be moved to different precincts with various maps. But why must everything have to be about race? This isn't about race, it's about the population growth in Tarrant County. I keep hearing that Tarrant is a minority majority county. That's the makeup of this board. There's nothing in a proposal or a map that requires this to change. There was discussion also at the town halls about invoking voter suppression. Voter suppression means an individual or group is not being allowed to vote. There's no map selection that prevents anybody, including any minority, from having a right to vote. Again, we need to stop with all the hateful rhetoric. That is not of God, it is evil. I support map 1 as it best provides representation that reflects the makeup of Tarrant County voters. Thank you.
Is Ms. DeSalvo present? Angela DeSalvo. Next week, Gwen Baruch. On Ms. Baruch, we have Rebecca Holmes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Court. I'm Gwen Baruch, Executive Director with Texans Defending Democracy, a nonprofit organization committed to providing unbiased, nonpartisan information on policies that affect everyday Texans. We cut through the nonsense and misinformation to give the truth and to go against what happens in today's headlines. And sadly, this redistricting plot is no exception. It's like a child who flips a board game and suddenly declares new rules so they can't lose. The problem is this isn't a game. These are real people and their voting rights that you're trying to manipulate. This power grab lacks transparency, has no competitive bidding, and conveniently uses a firm with partisan ties. Changing the redistricting rules mid-cycle isn't just bad optics, it's a dangerous precedent. And I cannot leave without addressing your remarks, Commissioner Repairs, in your op-ed. This process.
Your time is up. Thank you. So, Ms. Holmes, are you present? What about Linda Ford? Linda Ford. Following Ms. Ford, we have Charles Wiedemeyer.
I'm speaking on the affirmative for the redistricting. I live in District 1, and I'm sorry, Mr. Miles, I've never even seen you. And I was at the polls, poll watching, poll reading, and I don't know you, so you don't, it's hard for me to have you represent me if I don't know you. I've lived in Fort Worth since 2013, and I've seen how we've been growing south. Down the tollway, it's just gotten crazy. And I think we really need to review all the districting from that perspective. I think that as the county grows and changes, I believe the voting map should change as well. And I do want to say one thing. I was at the Como meeting, and I don't know why I'm so nervous, but we were called racists. We were told that we.
Thank you. Thank you. Following Mr. Wiedemeyer, we have Stacy Mello.
To the mayor, fellow commissioners, good morning. I live in District 1. I support the redistricting, and I just hope that we can get on with it and have less. Commissioner Miles, I'm offended personally by your remarks about racism and about your voting record. I feel that you don't take my interest seriously. I think you have judged me to be a bad white guy, And that's gonna be my reputation no matter what I do. And so that's just a little tip for you, for me. Thank you.
Is Ms. Mello here?
I'm here.
Following Ms. Mello, we have William Zephyr.
Okay, Manny, you have the audacity to write an opinion piece on how you're in support of redistricting, but you can't even attend your own town hall. So talk about being a keyboard warrior, okay? In the most recent opinion piece you said that conservative leadership has prioritized responsible spending. Let's talk about Tim O'Hare right here. He almost bankrupt Flower Mound, forcing them to dip into their reserves to lay off people just to push his racist agenda against Latinos that look like you. Is that responsible spending? Is this the conservative leadership that you are looking to protect? Right there. I know you and Maddie are trying so hard to be the best lapdogs for him that you can be, but I hope you realize how pathetic you look. Because the same man you're trying so hard to please has called Latinos, people that look like you, less desirable people who don't value education. Right now, you have the choice to actually listen to your constituents and vote against these maps. And if you choose not to, then Tim, you can go ahead and buy them dog collars, okay?
Step away.
Thank you.
Mr. Zedler, following Mr. Zedler is Mark Christensen.
Judge O'Hare and Commissioners, glad to be here with you today. You know, as I looked at this, one thing I found when you compare it to other cities our size, you know what I found? That there was a standard, and that was this. If the opposing party did not win any county-wide seats, guess what? They either had one seat or they had 0 seats on the Commissioner's Court. And in Tarrant County, the Republicans won they won all the countywide seats and the majority of the votes in the others. Here it is in a nutshell. People are leaving other states in droves. They're leaving blue states and coming to red states, primarily states like Texas. And one of the reasons is because they want secure borders. They've opposed sanctuary cities. They oppose men and women's sports, things like that. Let's not bait and switch. Let's give them what they're coming for here. And thank you very much. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. Is Mr. Christensen here? Following Mr. Christensen, we have John Raymond.
Good morning, I stand in support of redistricting map 1. First of all, my wife works for Rick, and she loves your leadership of the county pleasure here. With some percent Republican vote of the last election going Republican, we think that map 1 redistricting represents this fairly. I've lived in cities such as Seattle and Memphis where there was an overwhelming supermajority of Democrat, and I just find that fiscal responsibility and crime, public morale within the county is challenged. I hope that room for good people to disagree and please not try to judge us down into racism or some type of other means. I have reasons for being a Republican. I support many Republicans in this.
Thank you. Is Mr. Raymond present? John Raymond. Jason Smith. Jason Smith. Isabel Young. Isabel Young. Stella Fair. Stella Fair. Ella Burton. Following Ms. Fair will be Ella Burton. Would you like me to skip over you and go to the next one?
Thank you.
Ms. Fair. I'm sorry, Miss, that was, you got a 1 second skip. Get back up there.
On my way. My name is Ella Burton. 5812 Kilpatrick Avenue, Fort Worth, Texas, historic Lakecomer. See me, I represent the face and the voice of many particularly those in Lake Como. This year I will turn some 75 years young. I've seen some horrific things take place over my years. And this, I've seen brick walls come down, but I've seen invisible walls go up. So I stand for speaking for the persons that I reside next to in our community opposed to the redistricting. The voices say, as I represent the voices, that we hope you will stop this plan. It isn't needed and it doesn't feel right. And instead focus on what the people of Tarrant County really need. Take the time to dialogue with the people that this will impact. I stand to say that I am in total opposition.
Please step aside. Ms. Fair, are you good? Okay. Following Ms. Fair, we have Estes Tucker.
I am Stella Fair, a longtime Tarrant County resident and voter who strongly opposes your proposed redistricting plan, which despite your claims to the contrary is nothing but racial gerrymandering. Over the past 20 years, I have experienced firsthand the negative effects of this discriminatory practice, which limited my choices to vote for people who place the concerns of their constituents above their own personal interests. Another problem with the proposed redistricting plan is it did not include the current map as an option. One of the members of this court stated in yesterday's edition of the Star Telegram that redistricting must be approached with clarity, transparency, and purpose. It is obvious from these maps that this process was not followed, and as a result, neither of them should be approved.
Thank you. Following Mr. Tucker, we have Dorothy DeMose.
Estes Tucker, historic Lake Como community, lifelong taxpayer, veteran, small business owner. I oppose these new redistricting processes. I believe that the integrity of redistricting is highly questionable for the following reasons. Redistricting without transparency, without disclosing criteria, and without meaningful community engagement undermines public trust and democratic legitimacy. Redistricting without new census data, without clear justification, and in a rushed time frame is an obstruction to informed community engagement and feedback. It invites suspicion that there is no intent to use or incorporate the feedback meaningfully, and it subjects residents to unnecessary redistricting. As stewards of our tax dollars, please don't waste them on defending maps like this that reflect racial gerrymandering. The world is watching, young voters.
Following Mr. Bose, we have Anna Zeta.
Good evening, court, judge and commissioners. I rise today to strongly oppose the redistricting of the county commissioners district in Tarrant County. There has been no clear data, no compelling evidence or public demand to justify these changes. Redistricting is a serious process that should be driven by population shift, not politics. And yet we are being asked to accept new district lines without any transparent rationale or demographic necessity. What's even more concerning is the timing. Why not? The next census is in just a few years. Then redistricting is supposed, that's when redistricting is supposed to happen, after an accurate population count and not before. This process seems rushed, unjustified, and disconnected from the principle of fair representation. Tarrant County residents deserve.
Thank you. Ms. Zeta, following Ms. Zeta, we have Ken Shimamoto.
Good morning, I'm Ann Zeta, former City Council representative of District 9, participant in a very thorough redistricting process, although not to the conclusion. I come to you today from the Fort Worth City Council meeting where all were given 3 minutes and no limits on clapping or affirming speakers. There was a majority of council that voted in favor of opposing this redistricting, and even some of those who spoke opposed the way that this process has been rushed and indicated that given time, they would have come to an agreement on language opposing this flawed process. I encourage you to stop this flawed process. The firm that you have hired is not doing their job. This is the first time I've seen all of you in one room on this process, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with you that this is very concerning and that I hope that you will reconsider this process going forward in this mid-census timeframe.
Following Mr. Shimamoto, we have Melissa Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, Judge O'Hare, Commissioners. My name is Ken Shimamoto. I've been a taxpayer in Tarrant County since 1978. I'm an Air Force veteran and the son of an American soldier who served in the war against fascism while his own father was incarcerated by our government as an enemy alien. So now I know a little bit about what happens when folks are deprived of voice and agency. Regardless of the rationale that I was finally able to read in Mr. Ramirez's op-ed and to hear from Mr. Krause's comments in this room today, I was born at night, but I was not born last night. If it walks, talks, and quacks like a racial gerrymander, it's a racial gerrymander. Ultimately, the courts will decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Ms. Gonzalez present? Melissa Gonzalez. All right, how about Julie Seri? Ms. Seri present. Catherine Godby. Ms. Godby present. Following Ms. Godby, we have David Chapman.
I absolutely loved the words that I heard at the beginning of this agenda item. Thank you, Commissioner Miles. Very inspiring. What is right and what is good? You are harming Black and brown citizens. You're harming them. You're silencing their voices. I don't know. How can you call yourselves Christians knowing that that's what you're doing? This is a process with racism at its heart, and to not see that is simply willful blindness. I urge you to reconsider.
Is Mr. Chapman present? David Chapman. If you could raise his hand. Are you Mr. Chapman in the back? No, that's not. Okay. Jane Collins. Following Ms. Collins, we have Charles Billings.
My name is Jane Collins, and I'm in Arlington. And we had a wonderful discussion at the public discussion on Saturday, and I really learned a lot. And then today, when I came and heard Mr. Rivas's report, more information, and Mr. Miles shared some really good information. And I really feel that people are listening with an open mind. They're going to be against this redistricting until we have another census, because we don't have the data. And I would urge you, Mr. Ramirez, to change your position. It hasn't been that long that there's been very much fairness on voting. And I remember when the La Solita Party in Crystal City, Texas had to form their own organization in order to get representation.
Thank you. Following Mr. Bills, we have Dr. Harriet Farrell.
Okay, quick, I'm against this, but I want to see an itemized invoice from the Hill Fund. Why it took $30,000 to write maps, especially when they didn't do it, they just contracted out to someone else. Maybe they took $10,000 and you spent 2 hours charging $10,000 an hour. The other thing I want to say is that this time and 2 weeks ago, there were so many people that signed up that we had to lower the time to 1 minute. And yet, there are a suspicious amount of no-shows. I suspect subterfuge. I would hold, Bo Nick certainly would do something like that, just have everyone sign up and then not show, just to make to prevent people from having enough time to speak.
So following Dr. Harrell, we have Reed Bills.
Judge O'Hare and Commissioners Ramirez and Krause, drop this redistricting effort. PILF has insulted you and all of us with blatant racist maps. The only justification we've heard, Judge O'Hare,
was that if you aren't called racist, you aren't doing anything. Well, these maps are racist. Currently, the Black and brown voting populations vote and have impact in 3 precincts. These maps concentrate them into 1 precinct, thus robbing minority voters of the opportunity to vote and impact a larger percentage of the county. PILF just drew their lines around the majority Black voting population. I'm disappointed, ashamed, outraged that you who talk about balance and about being Christian support these hateful, deliberately discriminatory maps.
Bills, we have Mary Lynn Sloan. Is Ms. Bills present? Yes.
Sweet.
I live in precinct 1 and Commissioner Miles, you speak for me. Thank you. The legal service agreement between Tarrant County and PILF says in part, the foundation agrees to provide consultation in the process of adopting a new redistricting map, including any demographic analysis and presentation of maps. This agenda says we will be briefed on the redistricting process today. Please note, PILF did not consult with or explain the process of adopting a new map, did not provide demographic analysis, and did not present any maps to the taxpayers of Tarrant County. PILF failed to meet its obligations, and I want my $30,000 back.
I'm a native of Fort Worth, and I am very proud of my hometown. It is a great place to grow up in. It is a great place to go to school in. It is a great place to work in. It is a great place to live in. However, this redistricting plan is not great for Fort Worth. And I know it's being done to silence the voice of Commissioner Simmons and to silence the voices of Black people in this community. And it's not right, and it's not just. And it makes me feel ashamed. I feel ashamed.
Following Mr. Griffith, we have Sandra Cooley.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Coming as a member of the Broadway Baptist Church Justice Committee, as people of faith, we must oppose any redistricting effort that engages in hacking and cracking of minority voting districts to dilute and silence their voices. Unfortunately, that's what these maps do. And so, as people of faith, we must raise our voices for the voices that are at risk of being silenced on these maps. The process has been unnecessary, has not been transparent, and the law firm is not a neutral law firm. We are highly biased against voter access, and the record shows that. So we urge you to please reconsider and to stop this process, which undoubtedly is illegal and gerrymanders.
Following Ms. Cooley, we have Ryan Martin.
Hello, my name is Sandra Cooley, and I'm a lifelong resident of Tarrant County. I'm third generation lifelong resident of Tarrant County. So what you do here affects me, affects my family. And I'm proudly from a very diverse county. I'm against the redistricting. I'm for the present map. I think this whole thing is against Alyssa Simmons, who is a great advocate, not only for her precinct, but for mine, because I'm represented by Kraus. And, I'm sorry, I'm represented by Kraus. But Alyssa's at my Keller ISD school boards. She's in Austin when the Texas Democratic Women meets. She is my representative.
Thank you. Following is Mr. Martin present. Ryan Martin. Tim Maloney. Following Mr. Maloney, we have James Finkenkeller.
Judge O'Hare, County Commissioners, first of all, thank you for your service. My name is Tim Maloney. I've been a resident and taxpayer in Terry County for 26 years. I reside in District 2 with my wife. I don't see this as racial gerrymandering. I see it as parse gerrymandering. I see the tremendous growth that's taking place in Terry County. I can feel it with the traffic. I'm in favor of redistricting. Favor option.
Thank you. Is Mr. Finkenkeller present? Next we have Sal Carrillo. Mr. Carrillo present. Next we have Julie Griffin. Following Ms. Griffin, we have Rachel Davis.
Day. This is an irony and a shame. Those pushing the proposed maps claim that race does not exist, that diversity does not exist. Yet no other consideration explains the salamander shapes in precincts 1 and 2. The cracking and packing of Black and brown communities, the shredding of communities of interest such as cities, schools, neighborhoods, the utter absence of any logical reason to redistrict mid-decade, the empty claim of growth requiring redistricting when the same data for 2020 must be used, the false claim that no process for redistricting has occurred since 2010, the sham of a process that provides no backup data to these maps or Q&A interaction with the community, and the contracting of well-known minority bashing hired gun failed to prove that this is racial gerrymandering of unprecedented scope and intent, an 11 o'clock effort to undermine the organically growing voting trend of historical Black and brown communities and deprive them of the candidate of choice of whatever color. It is unlawful, unconstitutional, and wrong. Cancel the Puff contract, keep the current map.
Is Ms. Davis present? Rachel Davis. Merle Glasscock. Following Ms. Glasscock, we have Laura Lehman.
Good afternoon. I am Merle Glasscock. I am a member of Broadway Baptist Church where I serve on the Justice Committee. My comments are my own. I appreciate this court for listening to the public. From what I am reading, from what I am hearing from a range of stakeholders, I think the entire redistricting proposition is woven with racism. Specifically, it looks to me as if the redesigning of the maps is trying to get rid of Commissioner Alyssa Simmons. She is an exemplary commissioner. She is a powerful voice for her constituents.
Thank you. Is Ms. Lehman present? All right, next we have Lisa Langwood. Ms. Langwood present? Myra McLaughlin? Myra McLaughlin present. Evan Turner? Following Ms. Turner, we have Lydia Faith.
Ebony Turner, proud resident of Precinct 2. This racial gerrymandering attempt violates the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. For any person of color to sit here and say this is anything other than racial gerrymandering, well, I say there was a reason Harry couldn't free all the slaves. You will catch that when you get home, my pastor often said. For this pilfering law firm who is taking our taxpayer dollars, but refusing to answer questions of all of the people with whom you're contacted, I invite you to go back and refresh yourselves on the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct, especially the parts where you're required to maintain communication with clients and respect for public officials. I oppose this redistricting effort as an illegal attempt at racial gerrymandering, but let me remind you, what goes around comes around.
Smith, Ms. Fake, President, Ms. Fake. Ms. Fake, we have Bradley Freeman.
Hi, my name is Lydia, and I'm part of Matt Cross's district, unfortunately. I am against the redistricting that is being proposed by the Republican commissioners. Why are these maps being drawn by an illegitimate law firm? The National Republican Redistricting Trust. Let's be clear, this is gerrymandering and this is racist. Manny said in his article on Star Telegram, not when he skipped out on a public meeting, at no point have racial, gender, or religious demographic data played any role in this process. Then what data did play in this process? Why has this not been released to the public? Tim, Matt, and Manny, you're not here to serve the community when you're actively silencing most of it. You've never been here to serve the community. And we all know it's because Tarrant County is changing and is fed up with the Christian and white extremism here. You cannot talk about leadership while you consistently fail to be a leader in every aspect. Your legacies will not be one of the people, but rather disgrace, lack of transparency, and dishonesty. You will be remembered for these fake Christian values and the hateful policies you enact.
Is Mr. Freeman present? Mr. Freeman, Drew Brown. Then we have Warren Horgan.
Well, I was prepared to say this morning, but good afternoon. My name is Drew Brown. I'm a resident of Fort Worth. I'm speaking in opposition to the proposed redistricting plan. The proposed plan would remove me from the district I'm in that I have been in for decades. This plan is unnecessary, expensive, and unlawful. Current district lines were created, 3.5 years ago? They're legal, they're sound, they reflect the broad community. The full cost of this process, including consulting, administrative expenses, has not been disclosed. On top of that, the entire redistricting proposal is tied to an out-of-state legal firm best known for suing states to remove voters, leave the districts as they are, and respect the will and the voting rights of the people.
Thank you. Is Mr. Horgan present? Warren Horgan. Next we have Kayla Carmona. Ms. Carmona present. Karen Horgan. Jeff Blanchard. Mr. Blanchard present. Gina Woodley. Ms. Woodley present. Following Ms. Woodley is Angela Rainey.
Good afternoon. I live in District 2 and approve of this vote on map 1. Over the past 2 county elections, a Democrat was put into office in my district in lieu of someone who represented conservative values and who was our commissioner prior to these past 2 elections. This proves that demographics have dramatically changed in the past 5 to 10 years, and we have all witnessed a mass migration to Texas. If these boundaries are not changed to reflect more even partisanship, a conservative candidate will never have a chance to win. So what do conservatives do then? Do we move into a district that is more evenly balanced? Continue the division? No, that's not the answer. The solution is to provide districts more evenly represented. I trust you 3 gentlemen because I have seen you demonstrate integrity and wisdom. I don't trust you, Alyssa, based on personal experience and the party you belong to, who nearly destroyed our country over the past 4 years. I will forever fight for conservative values that this country was founded on.
Thank you. Is Angela Rainey present? Next person that laughs out loud or mocks the speaker will be removed. They're quiet when you talk, be quiet when they talk. Angela Rainey. Sally McCracken. Janet Matter. Following this matter, we have Tim Johnson.
The League of Women Voters of Tarrant County opposes all new maps. There was no ask for public input to draw the maps, no transparency when you draw maps behind closed doors, no demographic ethnic data provided. You do not answer questions. Why are you moving so fast? The mainly brown-black residents in precinct 2 being moved to precinct 1 could not vote for a commissioner in 2024, and they can't vote for one in 2026. The next opportunity they will have is not until 2028. Using current maps, brown and black voters in precinct 2 would vote in 2026. That's a 4-year gap. Again, if moved to precinct 1, they can't vote until 2028. This is intentional disenfranchisement. These maps are racially gerrymandered.
Thank you. Is Mr. Johnson present? All right, Alexander Montalvo. Following Mr. Montalvo is Carlos Rodriguez.
So something your op-ed didn't explain, Mandy, was why are you supporting the redistricting process that has 5 maps? And in each of those options reduces Latino community members in your precinct. Every single one of those options reduce Latino community members and tax them into precinct 1. The Latino community deserves to know why someone who parades at Chorizo Menudo meetings, at Ford Hispanic Chamber meetings, who decides to vote to keep the Cesar Chavez holiday, wants less of that community in his precinct. We know why they want to pack precinct 1 with more black and brown voters, and we know what their racist agenda is. But this shows that you are openly supporting racist gerrymandering against your own community, which will be your own demise because they're gonna get rid of you after this. Why support something that Mr. Brown?
Is Mr. Rodriguez present?
Present.
Following Mr. Rodriguez is Sandra Montalvo.
¿Se acuerdan en la década de los 2000 cuando el pueblo de Farmers Branch era una advertencia para nuestra gente? La ciudad de Farmers Branch inició leyes anti-inmigrantes, lo que hoy se ha normalizado. El alcalde de Farmers Branch en ese entonces fue Tim O'Hare, ese hombre de ahí. No nomás fue una pesadilla para los inmigrantes, pero también al resto de los residentes de ahí. Tim O'Hare les costó al pueblo más de $6 millones por tener leyes discriminatorias. A día de hoy seguimos en el mismo camino. Si pasan los nuevos mapas, el condado será demandado y es dinero de tu bolsillo, no del bolsillo de Timmy. Acuérdense que nomás porque tienen un apellido latino no quiere decir que son para nosotros. Si le das más poder al poder, más duro te van a venir a coger.
Following is Miss Montalvo present. Kathleen Turner is next. Miss Turner present. Gerald and Jackie Cox. Miss Cox present. Next is Lindsay Morris. Miss Morris present. Doreen Geiger. Following Miss Geiger, we have Gwendolyn Morrison.
Fundraising has already started to pay for the lawsuit that will be filed against this commissioner's court if it votes to redistrict halfway between census counts.
Taxpayers in Tarrant County will be stuck paying for millions of dollars in legal fees in trying to defend actions taken by the members of this court. In 2021, the court hired a bigger staff firm that specialized in redistricting to prepare data for redistricting after the 2020 census. After reviewing their data, the court decided to keep the current boundaries because they were balanced by population. This is a very similar situation to the lawsuit that cost Farmers Branch $7 million in legal fees after Tim O'Hare passed an ordinance to make it illegal for landlords to rent to Hispanic people. Farmers Branch lost that lawsuit and have been paying.
Is Ms. Morrison present? All right, Monica Lanat. Monica Lanat. Laura Spellman. Laura Spellman. Nico Shima Bakuro. Amanda Harrier. America Mendez. Maria Mendez. Douglas Spellman. Lachelle Goodrich. Jaime Flores. Sally Hall. Suzanne Mabe. Are you Miss Mabe?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Following Miss Mabe is Gabriel McLean.
Hi, afternoon. I work, I live and work in Commissioner Ramirez's district. And I disagree strongly with your opinion about drug redistricting, because I do believe it's right. And you saying that there are so many Republicans in other cities. Do you remember 2020? I believe Joe Biden won that year. So it would be fair, I think, if we just let the lines like they are. And I'm no expert on redistricting, but I can look at that. Is it PLIF map? And it's obviously racially gerrymandered. You can just see it. And I think if I could see it, the judge could see it. And they're gonna say that it's wrong and where it's gonna cost them a whole lot of money. And I'm asking you to vote against it.
Thank you.
That's
Is Mr. McLean present? Mia Chiesa. Kevin Rigsby. Chris Dobson. Following Mr. Dobson is Emmanuel Beal.
As a member of the European American community, I need to point out that the white identity is a racist reaction to the black community that developed after slavery. Anyone who calls themselves a white person is inherently racist. They have forked tongues, they have hardened hearts, they have antebellum mindsets. We have colonial maps coming out. We, as European Americans, need to cut this off at the knees. This seven-pill dominionist church weaponry that is being displayed in our city, in our county, is ridiculous. I see no love of Christ or your neighbor. I do see an awful lot of silence, weaponized incompetence.
Thank you. Emmanuel Beal. Emmanuel Beal present. Carla Palomares.
My name is Carla Palomares of Fort Worth and Precinct 4. I've attended 2 of the redistricting public hearings, one hosted by Commissioner Miles and the other hosted by the community in absence of Commissioner Ramirez. Precinct 4 staff and Tarrant County staff had a microphone and a timer in Azle. They waited about 30 minutes to tell us that you weren't going to be there, Manny. You had 75 plus people show up, many of whom, like myself, drove over an hour to get there during rush hour. It was not a central location to the district. That's a disgrace on you and this county, not even the bare minimum to provide resources or entertain dialogue at this so-called public hearing. That speaks volume for all the people, for all you as puppets and performing by going through the motions to try and fool us into believing this ruse. Manny, you failed us once again. I've lost all faith in you as a leader. You are a follower, but I hope that my comments I wrote were provided to you from your staff, because it's more than I can say in a minute. Tim O'Hare, you're trying so hard to move this along, yet you won't even show your face outside of this court. You operate from fear and hate. You're racist.
Remove her from the building immediately.
Excuse me.
All right, that's all we have signed to speak on that particular item.
No.
There are more public
¿Ya te vas?
See you.
¿Ya te vas?
Be downstairs.
That would get us kicked out? We're not in meetings, so we can speak. Good answer.
I'll let you know if it's.
When it's over? It's over? Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. You're good.
Every Monday.
She already left, man.
Okay, all right. I'm here.
She called him a racist after her time was up. Yeah, that's the loser, George. I like that, man. Hola, raza. Simón.
Apparently, you can't person
Porque no saben.
No saben,
El mexicano está falso. El mexicano es falso. Dice que no entiende español.
You're right against the wall.
Oh, he's a kid.
You not having any manners? Good.
Yeah,
He's sick till 1 o'clock.
okay. Thank you. I'm gonna go smoke me a cancer stick. Cancer stick. They were deep over here. They're ready to beat someone up. I came 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Yeah, as soon as O'Hare screams, "Ski!" they all come running. They all come running like little rats. That's why I don't like y'all. They all come deep for a female. Y'all going down?
Going down?
Yes, sir. Going down, going down, going down.
Well done on the speaking.
Yes, I love Dolly art stuff, man. Woo, got me high, but I don't want to go to jail, so I have to be quiet. Because they like jelling me up. Woo, I'm so crunk for y'all, man.
It's political.
He's finally getting a dose of his own medicine. Weirdo.
Yeah, he don't like it.
Nope.
None of us would like it, but hey,
No, you create your own chaos.
That's right. Your own chaos. I like that.
Yep.
Y'all have a good day.
Y'all too.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. All right, y'all, I'm gonna take a break until I go live. I'll go back up.
Thank you.